Let me go forward a little bit and say that there is an app that you can download. So when I say there's an app you can download, in fact, I've got the app in front of me at the moment. The app is available on the Google Play Store, and it's also available on the Apple App Store. Now, I'll send you a recording of this. Let's say I'll send you this in a bit, so there's no need to really do a live kind of download of the QR code now. But just to say that app actually does exist. Something that we'll touch upon this morning is we will touch upon the fact that there's a QR code for chili. So if you're interested in measuring the hotness of chili, and when I say chili, I mean, I've got a few sort of samples in front of me today. I've got this puree. So this is quite a nice representation when we're trying to talk about the testing of fresh chilies. I've got some chili oils in here. There was also a webinar that we did on the that went up on the YouTube channel on Saturday. I think it was about oleums as well. Oleums are kind of interesting because oleums are this very kind of concentrated capsaicin samples where they kind of extract the capsaicin using organic solvents. Then they evaporate all the organic solvent off, and you're left with this very pungent chili or chili product, let's say. So that was something that we did discuss on the weekend as well. So the nice thing about FoodSense Generation 4 is it's quite robust when it comes to different sample types, which I will cover in a minute. The analytes that you can test today are chili, but you do need the chili sensor for that, the ginger. We also do pH. We also do total antioxidative capacity. Total antioxidative capacity is a measurement of how many antioxidants are in a food. It's both useful for people who are trying to make health claims, and it's also useful for people who are trying to predict the freshness of something or the shelf life of something as well. We do also have a glucose sensor on this. So the FoodSense Generation 4, as I say, I do have the hardware in front of me. The FoodSense Generation 4 does offer bid test. It does also offer low cost or lower cost per test as well. What I mean by lower cost per test is a sensor like this, and I know I'm holding that up to my camera. A sensor like that costs €2.50. The comparative to this, obviously, then is HPLC, which is depending on your region. I think in India you can sometimes get it for $25. In USA, the cheapest you can get it is $50. I think typically it's really more like $100 per test, which leads to all sorts of problems because actually, especially in the sort of chili industry where people talk about Scoville heat units and they kind of wave these certificates of analysis around, there's not that much testing going on because the margins are not so high that people can afford this kind of testing in this kind of industry. But of course, with FoodSense Generation 4, it's much easier to do rapid testing. There's also a lot of traceability in this as well. What I mean by traceability is you'll see us do a quick demo in a bit, and you'll notice that that not only do we get a number on our phone so that we can kind of say, okay, so the Scoville heat unit of a particular product, maybe, so for example, we may say, well, that has a Scoville heat unit of 5,000. But we also then have the raw data to actually back that, let's say, claim up as well, that in fact, the raw signal really is 5,000 because we've got the raw signal for it. You can use it as an IQC, incoming quality control, process quality control, and outgoing quality control. I think most people actually use it as an IQC and an OQC. But you can actually, if you were trying to make a repeatable product, let's say you had two chili powders and you wanted to kind of blend them to get a known Scoville heat unit, you could actually use this technology to actually help in the process control. And we do help people in the slightly different industry, in the ginger shot industry. So there are people out there who are making these ginger shots. It's obviously ginger is another type of spice. And I think they actually have a problem with quality control because the ginger is so variable. But by knowing how much gingerol is actually in the incoming materials, you can actually make a more reproducible, let's say, product from this. With that said, We have tested a lot of samples along the way. Mayonnaises, so mayonnaise is kind of a lot of egg material in a mayonnaise. We have tested Nando's. Nando's do a sort of, they have a chain of restaurants in the UK, and they also do hot sauces. We have tested chili oils. We have also tested honeys. Honey is obviously a very viscous kind of material. We have tested oils. We've also tested the bomb. In fact, I've got some the bomb here. This is a reputation for being a very hot sauce. Though on the scale of chilies and chili powders, it's not particularly hot. It's just as a sauce, it's fairly hot. This was Psycho Juice. It had about 50,000 Scoville units. I think in this video we were testing chili powders, and and that was ginger shots as well. So it's not just chilies, but primarily I think most people are buying FoodSense Generation 4 actually because of the chili testing capability. Now, just out of interest, ZP, we've been around for since 2014, so we're kind of 10 years old at this point. We are what they call ISO 13485. If you're joining late, don't worry about it, because we'll send you a video anyway. We'll send you a recording anyway, and you haven't missed any of the live, particularly any of the live stuff. But Zimmer Peacock, we were launched in 2014. We are ISO 13485. The team is, small, but fairly large and quite capable. We've got a lot of skill sets in the business. It's just probably worth saying that everyone gets personal online training. So if you are a FoodSense Generation 4 user, you get personal online training. It's quite easy to give online training these days. I mean, as you can see, you'll see my colleague Sol run a unit in front of her. I have a unit here. It is very easy to talk people through the use of this kind of technology. So online training can be quite effective these days because most people have webcams and most people have microphones and stuff like that. So it's fairly straightforward. We do weekly webinars. As I say, we're always supporting clients. We're looking at their data, anonymizing things so that we can sort of guide people. So we do weekly webinars where we're giving technical support. We also do monthly webinars. You're here today. This is that monthly kind of webinar where we'll get online and do a bit more real-time testing rather than maybe just talking about it. It's probably worth saying that this FoodSense Generation 4 has been we've actually gone through, as you can appreciate by the name, 2, 3, and we're on our 4th generation of this. So that every time the aesthetics have got better, but actually the functionality's got better as well. So this is the best yet, let's say, in terms of ease of use, accuracy, and it's also cloud connected. The cloud connected is really important because it's so much easier these days to support clients because of the cloud connectivity. Because in the end, people say, oh, well, the number said, 5,000, but I think it's 50,000. Well, of course, when you've got the raw data, you can actually go on, we can go up to the database. And if you decide to share it with us, only then will we be able to see your data. And we can actually say, okay, did something go wrong by looking at the raw data, or actually is it working fine? And what we are finding actually, especially in India, I'll probably do a webinar on this on Sunday. There's a particular chili out there, chili powder, that has a reputation for being 95,000 to 100,000, and twice now we're actually getting it. We're seeing that if you Google it, it says on the internet, 95,000 Scoville heat units. It's not. It's just everyone's looking it up on the internet and therefore putting that down as their expectation. When we actually test it, it's coming in at less than that. I will cover that in a webinar on Sunday. So this is FoodSense Generation 4. As I say, it's smaller than its previous generations. It's definitely easier to use and neater and cleaner to use. It's more accurate. I think the accuracy comes from the fact that we're actually able to give better customer support because actually all of the raw data is going to the cloud. Somebody here is asking if we do have any other organoleptic sensors for smell or taste other than the chili. Well, we do. In fact, that will come in a minute, so I will answer that question shortly. This one is cloud enabled. So as I say, raw data actually goes to cloud. We can do multi-analytes. So somebody's just asking, do we have any other organoleptic tests? And we have chili, ginger. Ginger is, how do people today measure the ginger, let's say? The answer is I don't think they are. But we are able to measure gingerol, which is the active in ginger root. We are able to measure total antioxidative capacity, and these kind of 3 videos here just kind of shows you the mechanical. It's very neat the way we can just flick the sensors in and out of it. It's also very easy for us to, not that I would, so I'll just show you quickly off my other camera, so we can just put these sensors in and out. It's very easy. It clicks in quite nicely. If for some reason you've got it dirty, we can just take it apart, quite straightforward, and just comes in by magnet. So it is elegant in that respect of being able to kind of use it. It's elegant in terms of, by the way, it requires no laptops or anything like that. It's all run off our smartphone. And then the questioner was just asking about what other tests can we do. You'll see us do this, that we have a series of QR codes. And every time we hold a QR code up, I suppose I've got some QR codes here, in fact. Every time we hold a QR code up, we can change the target analyte. So I've got a sort of series of QR codes here, but you'll see us do this you'll see us do this anyway in the webinar. That we can go between different analytes by using a QR code. That's the unit itself, pretty small. And now in the box, you get the sensors. So there's 100 sensors come in the box. You get the buffer. You get 500 milliliters of buffer. We only need 50 microliters of sample to actually test. In the box, you get the manual. Obviously, the manual is super thin, only because actually the unit is quite straightforward. So lots of technologies these days, big thick manuals, something like that, especially if you are used to things like HPLC, high pressure liquid chromatography. But the manual is actually thin because actually it reflects the ease of which this instrument is actually to use. And you of course will also get the meter itself as well. So you get buffer, sensors, manual, meter, and cable in the box, and in the manual, the QR code for downloading either the app to your Android or downloading the app to your iPhone is in the manual as well, though you will find the manuals actually in this video today as well. So with that said, we may go on to actually discuss, and that's that. You can see everything in the insert there as well. So as I say, you can get hold of the app. I'm not expecting everyone to suddenly flick out their phones and start being able to necessarily scan that QR code, but if you watch the recording later on, you will be able to get that QR code. By the way, if you're in India, we do have a distributor called Technando. So if you have reached out to us, please reach out to us again, and we'll put you in contact with our distributor called Technando. So this is a QR code that if you scan that, you'll find that you can install the app. If you've got an iPhone, scan this QR code and you can install the app. Then you'll find that actually this is a multi-analyte system. So we used to call this the chili pot. But then we kind of, these days, we've actually kind of called it FoodSense. We didn't change the name for the fun of it. We changed the name because, in fact, it can do chili, ginger, pH, total antioxidative capacity, glucose, and glucose rather. Now, the way it works is we have a sensor. The sensor goes into the meter. The meter talks to the app, and the app then tells the meter what to do, and you'll get a result on the phone, and you'll also get a result in the cloud. I might just change cameras for a second, just give you a quick demonstration of my camera. So I'll just going to stop sharing for a second. So what I'm doing is I've got the meter in front of me. I've put a chili sensor in here. That's important to emphasize. I've got a chili sensor in here. I've got the app installed on my phone. The app is in Bluetooth connection with the meter, and I've got a sample here. It's not yeah, that's it. I've got a sample here, and I'm going to put on 50 microliters of the prepared sample. I'm doing this because I really want to demonstrate to you one of the aspects of this technology, which is actually the kind of cloud connectivity bit. But in order to demonstrate that, I need to actually run a sample. So what I'll do is I'm just going to put a sample onto the sensor, which I have done. Now I'm going to go to assay. I did a dilution on this of 1 in 100. I will explain that shortly. I'm just going to start the measurement. There's a few things going on now. I get this progress bar on my app. So the progress bar kind of tells me that the thing is running. I'm also getting a flashing light at the front of this unit because of the position of the camera. You can't see it, but there's a nice LED strip here and it's flashing away telling me, that. So I can see that the meter is essentially running, and I can also see that the app is running because I get the progress bar as well. And you can see it's fairly quick to do that. That's almost perfect. So the Scoville heat unit for this is come back as 5,585 Scoville heat units. I'll just change cameras for a second, which would be here. So I get the results on my phone. So that's really important because, yeah, somebody's just asking, can you do green chilies as well? Yeah, you absolutely can. And what's important about this is just because somebody measures something and says that's what it is, it's the same with certificates of analysis. You get a certificate of analysis from an HPLC house. So, so what? It's written down. Yeah, sure it is. But what evidence do you have that it's actually true? So I'll just share my screen with you for a second. When I did that, the results also went to the cloud as well. So I can go in here, I can see my sample ID. So you can see the sample ID. You can see I can see the date. So that's the 12th of June 2024. I can see the time. I can see who did it, and I can see the raw data. So important. This is why we say there's such a good degree of transparency here, because I can see the result, 5,584 Scoville heat units. So get your quality certificate out, right? 5,584 Scoville heat units. And then one day somebody turns up and says, well, that's not right. And you say, but I actually do have the raw data as well. And this is the important bit, see, that we're often in discussion with people who would say, oh, well, my vendor says it's this, and, therefore it must be this. And then I say to them, well, show me the certificate of analysis. Often there's not a certificate of analysis, and if there is a certificate of analysis, you could also ask for the next level of proof, which is the chromatogram. And lo and behold, there's no chromatogram. But with this, you get the result and the raw data as well. But of course, the raw data is the numbers on my phone, so nobody has to become a deep scientist. But if actually you are a food technologist or quality manager and you need to be able to evidence what you're saying is true, then you can see that, the way this system works, actually, we do have the evidence, the raw signal as well to sort of back up all those claims. So nobody has to get the raw signal, but in fact, you can get hold of the raw signal as well. So I would just want to say it's easy to do because it's on the phone, but it's also backed up by that raw signal as well. So our aim is to be qualitative and quantitative. Now, the only reason I'm going to do the next part of the webinar is because I just showed you raw signal, and I'm saying to you, we got the raw signal. I do want to give you some confidence that this raw signal is not just a bunch of squiggly lines. Where this is coming from is, we have this sensor. We put 50 microliter drop on that sensor. And what we're actually doing then is looking for the fingerprint for capsaicin. So what we're doing now, this is all patent protected, so we can actually talk about this. But we're actually getting this fingerprint for capsaicin, which is very, let's say, distinctive. And that, first of all, the software checks that it is capsaicin, and then we quantify how much capsaicin there is by the intensity of these peaks. But unless we get these peaks, it's not capsaicin, and we do get these peaks, and we look at what's called these sort of area under the curve to actually quantify how much it is. Those peaks mean something. They're not just random peaks for us. Capsaicin is the molecule that's giving you that sensation of heat. We're using a technique called electrochemistry. We're analyzing the molecule, and the molecule is doing some specific reactions, and each reaction then is giving us a peak in our raw signal. So, with the first peak we get is due to a particular reaction, and we kind of call that peak 1. So when I kind of say peak 1, it's this peak here. Then we have a chemical reaction that happens during the analysis, and that forms a new molecule. But that new molecule then is also detected in our analysis, and that gives us what we call peak 2. So if you look sometimes at our videos or you watch carefully today, you'll see that we're often looking for this particular peak here. Here it comes. Boom. So we're looking for that. So it's very distinctive because we got a peak 1 and we got a peak 2. But then we also have what we call a peak 3. There's a part of the analysis, we get another reaction, and that reaction, whoops a daisy, I'll just let it run here. So this is peak 1. These happen in a certain order, and we can see it in the raw signal, but we don't ask you to look at this data. We're only giving you I would call it giving you the receipts that someday, if somebody ever challenges, well, was it capsaicin, how much it was, you can see that this is a very distinctive sequence of events, and there's that peak 3 now appearing there. So when you were watching that progress bar, it was literally doing this experiment. But of course, to make this a product, what do? We simplify the whole experience down and just give you a number on the phone. So in this case, it was 5,585 Scoville heat units. But understand the level of science that's actually going on in the background, and you're not excluded from that science because actually you get all this data up in the cloud as well. Something that we do a lot of, if we're doing a mild product like this particular product, we may do a 1 in 10 dilution. If we're doing something a bit hotter, like this particular product, we may do a 1 in 1,000 dilution. The reason being is capsaicin, we ship this buffer with the system. So we'll ask you to do something like a 1 in 10 dilution, or a 1 in 100 dilution, or a 1 in 1,000 dilution, or 1 in 10,000 dilution. We have done 1 in 10,000 dilutions, and we often do them with things like Carolina Reaper. The reason being is capsaicin is only soluble in many products. This is a good example because of the oils and the fats. Capsaicin is an organic molecule. It is not terribly soluble in aqueous materials. So there's a limit of solubility of 500 Scoville heat units. So if the product is quite mild, then we can do a 1 in 10 dilution because we can dilute the capsaicin into the buffer. If the product is hotter, we have to do a 1 in 100 dilution. And by the way, the app is smart. If you have not diluted enough, the app is looking at the raw signal and saying, you need to dilute more. It will definitely tell you that. So you don't have to otherwise know what the Scoville heat unit is, though most of the time you will actually have a sense of what the Scoville heat unit would be, because either because you looked it up on the internet, or because actually you had a certificate of analysis from a vendor. So you will always have that sense. But even if you don't know, the app, let's say you had something that was 500,000 Scoville heat units and you did a 1 in 10 dilution, which is under diluted, the app would actually tell you that was the case. So we have these different dilutions because fundamentally capsaicin is an organic molecule and we can't solubilize it all into the buffer. We only do it by doing increasing amounts of buffer because of this limit of 500 Scoville heat units, which is the solubility. Now I say demo here, so I did a quick demo myself just to show you that cloud connectivity. What I'm going to do is I am watching that you are writing a question, so I'll pop it up and answer that question in a bit. But I'm going to turn off my camera and mute myself because my colleague Solran is going to do you a couple of demonstrations. I suppose I say that, but Solran, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, cool.
So, all right. Okay, so my name is Solran, as Martin said, and I'll just run you through a couple of demos, just see how we prep samples and just how easy it is. So what I will do is I will run a ginger shot and I will run a chili sample. So let's start with the ginger shot. So I will show you the screen first. So right now it has chosen the chili assay. So it's important that you choose the right assay because it's applying different settings onto the sensor. So I click I click this symbol next to the chili sensor, and then I'll scan the QR code, and I'll scan the QR code for chili. One more time. I do have a ginger assay here. Okay, let's see. So like that, ginger. There we go. I just really wanted to test chili today. We'll do that later. So then I will go to test settings. So I'll click that. And then I will change the sample ID to ginger just so that's easier for me to differentiate between the data when I later look at a long list of test data. And then I have my cluster that I want to upload to and the operator ID. Then I'll click go to assay. And here you see that you have to choose the dilution factor. I know that this ginger shot is not very pungent. So what I will do is I'll make a 1 to 10 dilution factor. So then I will take a vial just like this one, and I will add some of our ginger buffer into it. So I will add 900 microliter of the ginger buffer, and I will do it online so that you see that I'm not cheating. All right, so just pipette and then take the ginger buffer, and I will pipette 900 microliter of this here into the vial, just like that. And then I need to add 1 part, 9 parts of the buffer, 1 part of the ginger shots, just so that I get a dilution ratio of 1 to 10, just like it's mentioned in the app. And then just need to adjust the pipette. There we go. Have the buffer. And then, okay, so here's the buffer. And here's 100 microliter of the ginger shots. So you see that it mixes really fast. It mixes really well. Just because that ginger shot is very liquid. So what I will do is I will use a Vortex. So Vortex is the tool we use just to mix our samples real quick. Also to make sure that our samples are as homogeneous as possible. So now you can see that we have a homogeneous solution. So the next thing I will do now is I will insert a sensor. So I'll show you in the show you here. So I will put one of the sensors in here, and you see the cartridge. Make sure that I'm not touching the sensor. So there's lots of thought put behind each of the components of the FoodSense. And then I will add, if we take a look at the app real quick, you'll see that it says place and lock the cartridge, mix the sample well, which we've done, and then we're going to apply 50 microliter sample to the sensing area of the sensor. So the app really tells you what to do. So and now I will just apply 50 microliter. So here's our vial. So I'll add 50 microliter onto the sensing area of the sensor, just like that. And then I will click start measurements in the app. So on the screen now you can see a progress bar. What is happening in the background is that it's running through those cyclic voltammograms, and it's assessing the peaks and assessing just how much ginger roll we do have in the sample. And the app is a simplified version. If you go to the online version, which I'll show you after, Julie, our online platform, you can see the raw data. So this is for like quick and dirty in the lab where you get fast results. As you can see here, you get the results back in micromolarity in milligram per liter. It also says upload complete, which means it's been uploaded to Julie. So this is a quick and dirty. not that dirty though, still quite accurate. But if we go to Julie, we can see that I need to refresh the page. So I'm already inside the cluster. And here you see the ginger sample I just tested appears on the top. And then oops, it just needs to load. Okay, so here you see the first scan of the ginger sample. And here's the second scan. And you see which peaks it's assessing. And also you see the micromolarity again. And you can also add comments just to sort through your data. And here you also see like ginger, which I gave it that ID just to differentiate it from the others. And then it also comes up with dates and times. So in case you didn't label it well enough, you can still differentiate in regards to time. So you can also apply different tools to do some further analysis if you're interested in that. So then I will continue with testing chilies. So these are one-time use sensors because the organic molecules love the surface of the electrodes. So I will dispose of the sensor and then we will insert a new sensor. So I'll insert new sensor into the device. Then I will click on another assay. So I'll scan the QR code. And now we're scanning the QR code with chili sensor. So now those settings will be applied. We will change the sample ID and we'll name it Apollo just because that is what the sauce is named. Then I'll click go to assay. So Apollo, or the last tab, is known to be very, very pungent. So this time we will make a 1 to 1,000 dilution ratio. There are plenty of options, like for instance 10,000, which we usually use for very pungent powders. So I'll show you up close. So I'm just shaking the sample a bit just so that I'm sure that I have a homogeneous solution. And then I will pour some onto a petri dish like this, just so that it's easier for me to pipette my sample. And then I need a 50 milliliter vial, and I will add 40 milliliter for 40,000 microliter of the chili buffer. And then I will add 40 microliter of the sample, which gives a 1 to 1,000 dilution ratio. So like this. Okay, I'll zoom out because then it's easier to see. I don't need to hold it tilted just like that. Okay, so then 20 milliliter. Sometimes we are working with, for instance, chili fruits themselves or really chunky sauces, and you might need to chop it up or give it a bit more time to mix it into the sample. These are fairly homogeneous samples in the first place, so that's why we can we are mixing them real quick. But you might be a bit more need to be a bit more patient if you have very chunky sauces, just in order for the capsaicin to be extracted from the sample or from the chunks and bits. So here is 40 milliliter, and then I will add 40 microliter of the sample. So just all right, adjusting the pipette, and then I will add 40 microliter of, I'll show you close up. So 40 microliter of the sample into the sample. So here you see, wait, I'm adding it. Just like that. And then what I'll do next is I'll vortex it a bit. Okay, so so just like that, and then okay, so what you can see in the sample is you see some you can maybe see some chunks and bits, and it's also falling down to the bottom, and that is okay. The capsaicin in the sample will be extracted from those chunks and bits. So don't worry, and also if you get some particles onto the sensor, that's also okay. So okay, now we vortex it for a bit, and here you see that there are some like particles. It's hard to see, but there are some particles that are floating around, and that is okay. So now we will pipette again 50 microliter of this sample onto the sensor. So, and we also need to change the dilution factor to 1000, like that. Then I'll show you that we're taking 50 microliter onto the sensing area of the sensor, just like that. Right, and then I go to this view and I click Start Measurements. Again, you see the progress bar, and this the detection of capsaicin is also using cyclic voltammetry, so the same as for gingerol. But we have quite a few other samples that we're testing, which uses other measurements. But for capsaicin and gingerol, we have two different test settings, so it's important to differentiate between the different assays. So now the results coming back, we have a skull heat unit of 92,000. So it's quite pungent, and it says upload complete. So I'll show you quickly on Julie what it looks like. So this was the sample I checked earlier. So I just click refresh. So that I'll see it on my computer. And here it is, Apollo. And it's loading the report, and here it is. So here you see the sample. You see that the cyclical tomograms are fairly similar to that for gingerol, but they are different in different ranges. So and yeah, so here you have the raw data, and as Martin said, raw data is very important for control and so forth. So thank you.
All right, well, brilliant. Well, thanks, Solran. I appreciate that. I appreciate, I think one of the things we can demonstrate through these live demonstrations, let's say, is actually how robust this technology is. The fact is that, we're not terribly rehearsed. We just come up, we just get online, we do these demos, and, everything kind of works. And that's really because we're kind of on Generation 4, and actually we're quite big users of the technology, as you can see, and we've got a large customer base that's busy using this technology, and it is really good the way that Sauron said, for that last sample, that's 91,000, and she'd done a 1 in 1,000, and we could see the raw signal, and you could see the raw signal was actually very clear. Yet she'd done a 1 in 1,000 dilution, so that really gives you a sense of actually how much dilution, sorry, how much capsaicin was actually in that sample. And it's kind of funny actually, because sometimes people tell us, "Oh no, it can't be right," but he's like, "No, look how big that signal is." It's like you can't argue this. That is how much capsaicin there is in there. And also sometimes you get the case that there's actually not capsaicin in there that people think it otherwise is. So it's nice to get the result, 91,000, simple. Everyone understands it. You can write it down. But B, we actually get the results in the cloud as well. So in summary, FoodSense Generation 4, I think it's the quickest, lowest cost, probably most transparent way. When I say transparent, because actually we give you both the result and the raw signal way of measuring capsaicin in products. It's used throughout the globe, from obviously South America, USA, lots in India, in Australia. So it's we've been around doing this now for quite a few years. So I've got here a contact us if you have any questions. In about hopefully the next couple of hours, we'll send you out a recording of this webinar. You can watch it, and if you've got any questions, you'll also get our email and you can ask us there. So I know Soren and I have, let's say, meetings to go to. So I wish you all a good day and speak to some of you soon. Okay, thanks very much. Take care.